Test, test. Sweet. Okay, now I'm not getting echo on myself. Alright, I think I've got everything set up and working now. So even though this is a Final Fantasy XIV stream, or about to be, I want to start off over here. So this is my original character from World of Warcraft, the one that I started with back in Classic, obviously with these less ugly graphics with the update now. But that was the transmog that I left him in whenever I had stopped playing last. I played continuously from Classic all the way through Miss of Pandaria. Stopped with Warlords of Draenor, came back and played Legion, played through the beginning of Battle for Azeroth, but didn't play through all the patches, and I didn't go back for the current expansion either. But I've made this character over on 14, and so that's what I'm going to be starting with. We're going to be playing him in 14 and going back through the whole story. And that's what I want to do in a series of streams here, is just go through the entire story of Final Fantasy XIV leading up to Endwalker this November. I've actually got multiple characters on a different server. We're going to start... I've made this character on the other server, played him up to a certain point, but since I want to go through the whole story, we're going to start him over on a different server. When I get caught up to the same point, we'll jump over to my main server and continue his story over there. But before I do that, I actually want to start off... If we're going to go through the whole story of 14, I actually want to hop over. We're going to skip this ad.
Eorzea, a land embraced by gods and forged by heroes. The bountiful ether that flows through this lush realm has ensured the peace and prosperity of its peoples for generations. But peace was never wont to last. The Garlean Empire began to amass a mighty army, hoping to wrest control over the realm and her resources. And in the year 1557 of the 6th Astral Era, the Empire's metal-clad warriors commenced their march south. Resistance was mounted, but to little avail, and it was not long before the city-state of Alamigo fell. Unsatisfied with their prize, the Garleans pressed on towards the heart of Eorzea. With their colossal dreadnought, the Agrius, at the fore, the Imperial army arrived at Silvertear Falls, only to find Midgard Zormer, keeper of the lake, awoken from a centuries-long slumber. Nor was he alone. A fierce aerial contest ensued twixt machine and dragon, at the close of which the invincible Imperial fleet was put to rout. This would come to be known as the Battle of Silvertear Skies. To add to the Garleans' woes, they found that the beast tribes native to Eorzea had somehow regained the ability to summon their long-dormant gods, the Primals. Lacking the means to slay these undying beings, the Empire called a halt to its planned conquest and withdrew behind the walls of Alamigo. And after 5 long years of strife, the flames of war died down, leaving only embers which smoldered quietly as the Garleans licked their wounds and the beast tribes tested the limits of their newfound power. It was thus that Eorzea slipped into the Age of Calm, during which an uneasy peace prevailed. The age, however, was anything but calm. In their wisdom, Eorzea's leaders established a network of guilds for the greater good of the realm. The members of these guilds were to devote themselves to no single material or martial craft, but endeavor to embrace all that they might better serve the realm's immediate need. They would be called simply adventurers.
That's the Warrior of Light right there. He's the cinematic stand-in for the player.
It was not until 1572, 10 summers removed from their defeat at Mor Dona, that the Garleans finally broke their silence. Gaius van Belsar, architect of the fall of Alamigo, was joined then by Nael van Darnus, their legions combining to form a force the like of which Eorzea had never seen. And just as quickly as the conquest had ended, so it began anew. To ready themselves for the coming conflict, the city-states of Limsa Lominsa, Gridania, and Ul'dah reinstated the Grand Companies, organizations with executive power to call upon the sum of the Commonwealth's military and economic might. The Grand Companies, in turn, sought the aid of adventurers, knowing that they could not withstand the aggression of two armies and the emboldened beast tribes alone. It was around this time that a well-meaning scholar from the city-state of Charlian, one Louis-Sois Levelieu, bore word to Eorzea's leaders of the advent of a new threat. Would that I had done so sooner. It was my belief that if the primals were suffered to remain, they would seek out and devour the realm's crystals, draining the planet of its very lifeblood, and condemning her children to a fate worse than death. Moved by my words, adventurers set out to slay the primals and thereby release the hoarded ether that it might be returned to the planet. However, 7th Legion Legatus Nael van Darnus envisioned a different solution to the primal dilemma. Meteor, a complex scheme employing arcane magics and lost technologies to summon the planet's lesser moon down to Eorzea with the aim of annihilating all the realm in one fell stroke. Dalamud, as the celestial body was commonly known, was discovered to be a machine launched into the planet's orbit by the lost Allagan Empire several millennia before. To aid them in tackling this new threat, the Grand Companies turned to the talents of Master Engineer and Garlean defector Sid Garland. But while we scrambled to fathom the workings of Van Darnus's plan, its wheels were already in motion. A massive fortress dubbed Castrum Novum now stood at the heart of Eorzea, defending a transmitter which would be used to call down Dalamud. The Grand Companies independently strove to destroy the outpost, but each was forced to concede that no single city-state possessed sufficient strength to breach its iron walls. Now recognizing the futility of standing alone against such a threat, the companies put aside their differences and consolidated their forces under the banner of the Eorzean Alliance. Thus united, the city-states began to move against the mad Legatus. At the behest of this new confederation, adventurers from across the realm infiltrated Castrum Novum, located the heavily guarded transmitter, and destroyed it. Alas, the White Raven took flight before they could subdue him. Worse, his twisted game was still afoot. Applying ill-gotten knowledge, he activated a second signal from beneath Kurthus, a signal so powerful it fractured the land, hurling vast boulders into the air where they remained suspended. In one final effort to end Nail's plan, the Alliance selected a small party of their best warriors and bid them ride Sid Garland's airship, the Enterprise, to the floating islands of Riven Road. The day of reckoning had come. As if foretold.
There we go. So that's actually worth taking a pause and a look at. We've got the Lalafell White Mage, the Rugadin Paladin, there's a Dragoon, then the Midlander Warrior, a Mikote Bard, and I think it's an Elizan is the Black Mage. So that's worth noting that they put that all together in this preview. This is all from a DVD that was included in the collector's edition for Realm Reborn, and I'm surprised they didn't put this in some way where it could all be watched in-game as kind of like a preview before you log in or something, rather than just having the trailer. But all these characters, or most of these characters, I think except for the Dragoon, they all appear in the trailer.
The chosen few succeeded in slaying the White Raven.
Lamont doesn't either.
And the day went to the Alliance. But the celebration proved short-lived, as it soon became clear that Vandarnus' death had not served to slow Dalamud's descent. Impact was imminent. The seventh Umbral Era was about to begin. An age of suffering. No course remained, save one.
So that seventh Umbral Era refers to the history of the world as basically measured in ages of astral and umbral eras. So if you think like Lord of the Rings was the third age before the second age and all that, similar thing, but in Eorzea it's basically an astral era is an era of peace, and then an umbral era is basically an era of catastrophe and struggles and hardships. And so they've gone through multiple times of this throughout the millennia, and so this is the calamity of the moon crashing into the planet was going to be the start of the seventh era of calamity and struggle and hardship.
To perform a summoning, not unlike those practiced by the beast tribes, yet on a far grander scale, to seek the power of the 12. The price of such a deed would be great, and could have grave consequences for the planet, but the Alliance could not deny my reasoning. It was the only way. In preparation, I entreated the realm's adventurers to pray at holy monuments, in hopes that their prayers might stir the slumbering gods. I, meanwhile, proceeded to the Cartano Plains, where Dalamud was predicted to fall, and began the rite. The 7th Legion, oblivious to their fallen leader's dark intentions, had also begun gathering in central Eorzea. Ordered to defend the area with their lives, they fought not knowing that victory would bring them death as assuredly as defeat. And amid the ensuing carnage, the curtain began to rise upon the 7th Umbral Era. The people of Eorzea.
So I'm assuming this will play the whole thing, but without this narration, at the end of the 1.0 cycle, so basically they were simultaneously developing this story and at the same time building A Realm Reborn as a completely new game, since the original release was received so horribly. So basically, whenever they said, on this day is going to be when we take down the servers, everyone around the game, like in all the different zones over the months, could see the moon coming, basically getting closer and closer. So it started out just small red and it got bigger and bigger and bigger until they could start to see kind of those spots that are sticking out of it when you see in the cinematic. And at the very end, basically they got to a point where it was like it was a countdown. They did stuff in game where like high level monsters were appearing in all the different zones, so the players were going and fighting them off and trying to hold back all this different chaos that was happening. And then it kind of got down to the point of the moon was getting close enough and the countdown happened to the servers shutting down. And so after the servers shut down, then this video went up to kind of show all the players this is what happened to conclude the 1.0 storyline.
Eorzea could only watch in horror as vast fragments of the falling satellite peeled away and rained down upon the land, wreaking untold devastation. At Cartano, both sides fought with a frenzy unmatched, neither giving the other any ground.
To all of my children, to whom death has
Adventurers plied their blades till their lungs burned, chanted spells till they grew hoarse. They fought without regard for their own lives, thinking only to save those of others. But it was all for naught. Overhead, the moon's skin of stone and steel disintegrated to reveal an elder primal free of his ancient prison. A great roar announced the completion of Galamud's metamorphosis. Bahamut had awoken. The front lines dissolved as allegiances were forgotten, and both friend and foe fled as one. Enraged after eons of duress, Bahamut vented his fiery wrath upon Eorzea. And despair gripped the realm.
Boo.
What do they mean when they say, listen to your gut?
Yet in the midst of the darkness, there was yet light, a divine radiance punctuating the gloom. Manifestation of the prayers of 1,000,000 souls beseeching the 12 for one thing: salvation. And for a moment, it seemed that the gods would answer. A prison of pure light formed around the raging primal and began to bleed the ether from his being. Alas, the wrath of Bahamut could not long be contained. My plan had failed, yet I could not allow those few heroes who still fought for me to pay the price of my failure. So I summoned what was left of my strength and sent them into an ethereal rift. There they would remain, untouched by the passing of the seasons, until it was safe to return. To a realm reborn.
So that gives you the idea of what the 1.0 story was about, and then the Realm Reborn launched to kind of be the 2.0 series. And so there's actually a little bit of a difference. If you're a new player who's just starting and just playing for the first time, you're basically a new adventurer who's come to Eorzea, and you set off on your early steps towards becoming an adventurer. If you were a 1.0 player, you actually have a tattoo on the back of your character's neck that signifies them as a legacy character. And the idea is actually you're one of the ones that he teleported forward, and now it's the times passed, and so now it's safe that basically you're brought back into Eorzea to continue on. We'll watch the Realm Reborn trailer before we dive into the The warrior.
Who walked before to lead those who
White mage. Black mage. And there's the paladin.
light of justice. Full of walk free, so believe.
Mega flare. I love that look on his face of just what are we supposed to do? So the last part is technically the closing cinematic to 1.0. This would be the trailer or opening cinematic for Realm Reborn. Chocobos. Chocobos have appeared through the majority of the series. is Odin. That's Behemoth, another long-standing character, and this is the Crystal Tower from Final Fantasy III. There's our characters teleported through time and brought back. Which brings us back into where we start. So, I'm not going to go through all the different character customization. I've already made my character. Like I said, I've designed him off the original character I first started in World of Warcraft. So he was a Night Elf there. Put him as a Dusk White, which is the... has generally darker skin tones. There are still some light options. So every race has two options of basically tribes, and the main thing they change is they give you different customizations. Some have different facial features than the other one does. The two little short races, Lalafell, their eyes are different depending on which tribe you choose. The elves largely kind of fall into the usual high elf slash dark elf or high elf slash wood elf type of look, similar to Blood Elf versus Night Elf in World of Warcraft. But you can go with your height. I made him a little shorter than a Night Elf. Skin color, hairstyle, hair color, face, jaw, your eye shape, how large the irises are in your eyes, color, different noses, eyebrows, mouth, lips, ear shape, ear size. So that's obviously ear size isn't on every race, but for the elves it is. So you can go shorter, so it's more like Tolkien style elf or EverQuest elf ears, or longer, which gets more in towards the anime style, which is a funny thing that I would note. People tend to call 14 the weeb game. World of Warcraft elves have bigger ears that are more like the anime style than you can get to on 14, which this is as long as they can get to try and match a anime. That anime slash Night Elf length. Facial features, that's where you'll have scars, or you can choose facial hair. That's the one thing I think is lacking in character customization across any race. There's not enough facial hair for the guys. There's not enough unique features for male or female. But you can add to it with tattoos. Specifically, if I was doing a female Night Elf style, you could choose... I think the females actually have more of these facial option styles, but you could do something to kind of resemble the facial markings that Night Elves have. Then you can change the color of those markings. Then you've also got face paint, so if you want to just do like a tattoo on the side of the face, some of them are real simple, some are kind of weird. Some of them look more like war paint. And I've seen a few of them with this one that it can make them... I mean, he looks fairly creepy himself, but some of them look kind of cool depending on how you put it together with what your creation is. There's another one that you could use to kind of emulate facial markings on the Night Elves. So, and same thing, you can change the color, and then you get to choose a voice, which that's one thing I kind of wish there was a little bit more during customization, is the voices. You can listen to them for kind of a yes, no, cheer, laugh, angry, and happy, but you can't really get a good overall feel for them. Sometimes you'll make it, and then once you're in there doing a few different emotes, or even just the sounds that they'll make during combat, you might kind of change your mind on if you really like that sound of the voice. So it might be worth it to make a character, play around in the very first area to just do some combat stuff and make sure you like the voice. If you don't, go ahead and remake it. Although it's worth saying that if you play through the main game up to 50, finish the main story, and there's something you don't like about the character, you will get an item that basically lets you remake the character entirely from race all the way down through all the customization. So you'll choose your date of birth, which really doesn't matter that much, but it's basically first astral and umbral moons, comes out to 12, so if you wanted to make it your actual birthday, you can just find the month and the date. And then your patron deity would basically be, whoever looks over you, whoever watches you. Again, this doesn't really matter. It doesn't make any difference. It's just entirely just flavor text. But a little bit of a spoiler. That's not a spoiler because we don't actually know anything about it. But we do know that all of these gods, Halone, Menfina, Thaliak, Nimia, Limlan, Oshan, Bayergot, Ralger, Azima, Naldthal, Nofaka, Althic. We know that all of these gods basically have some connection to something in the past of the planet's history. Kind of where did these mythologies come from? It's been hinted at, so I'm not going to say anything too much about it in that regard. But they did say the new expansion is going to delve into the mysteries of the realm, and kind of, it seems like a lot of this mythology behind the gods will be brought to light. We'll understand more about where it comes from and what its origins are and things like that. So, but still, mainly just flavor text. I always choose this one for this character. Just basically ruler of the mountain, god of travelers and vagrants. My character in WoW was a hunter, so I always figured the traveler, the wanderer aspect fit, so I just choose that one. Boop. And then we've got, I'll start down here because I'm not going to do one. So Arcanists, they basically, this is the job that you'll want to play if you're comfortable playing both healer and DPS, and it's the only class that will lead to 2 separate jobs. So in Final Fantasy XIV, you start in a class until level 30, and then that class upgrades to a job. And Arcanist basically gets 2 job crystals, so it can go the path of a healer or the path of a DPS. So spells, magic users in both cases, but you can go either one. And if you play up to, you play up there and you get to level 30, and you want to play a DPS, but you want the speed to just pop into a queue and run a dungeon on the healer, they also level simultaneously. So if you only play the healer up to level 50, your DPS class is also automatically level 50, so you can swap back and forth easily. The Thaumaturge becomes a black mage, which is basically just a spellcaster, so if you're from World of Warcraft, it's a mage. Conjurer becomes a white mage, which would basically be a priest from World of Warcraft. The Archer actually doesn't become anything like a hunter. They become a bard, which is a DPS class that also has some support roles and support aspects. So basically you play music that offers buffs to other players. Lancer becomes a Dragoon, which is an iconic role in Final Fantasy. It's basically just a DPS spear user. Their key feature is jump, which in the old games meant that you would tell them jump, they would jump off the screen. You might actually go a round or two where the the boss or enemies basically couldn't attack them, and then they'd come down for a high damage hit. Marauder is a tank, which is basically a warrior, two-handed axe. And actually, the Marauder becomes warrior at level 30, but comparing it over into World of Warcraft, it's a two-handed axe warrior as a tank. Pugilist is basically monk. At 30, they become monk. Same concept as World of Warcraft. It's a DPS martial artist. And then Gladiator is a tank, and that becomes Paladin at level 30. Same thing as a Protection Paladin in World of Warcraft, conceptually. So even though I started as a hunter in World of Warcraft, because I do know story aspects and I know class and job things about it, which I'll go into later on, I'm actually going to start this character as a Lancer. We're going to go Dragoon for his story, basically. And I actually started with Archer over on the other one that we'll switch over to whenever I get this play caught up to it. But even playing Archer, eventually I said, Lancer's going to be a better fit. I think I'm going to go with that. So we're going to start in here with the Lancer job. And also your job decides which city-state you start in. So Lancer will start in Gridania, which is the forest area. Archer does as well. So does the... so I wonder if I can go back. Yeah, I can still go back. So Gladiator starts in the Pirate City, Limsa Lominsa. Pugilist starts in the Desert City, Ul'dah. Marauder will start in the Pirate City, Limsa Lominsa. Lancer will start in the Forest of Gridania. Archer starts in the Forest of Gridania. Conjurer is in the Forest of Gridania. Thaumaturge in the Desert City, Ul'dah. And Arcanist starts in the Pirate City of Limsa Lominsa. Here. Homeworld. So, as you can see, Gilgamesh is where all my characters are. You can have up to 8 characters on a server. There is absolutely no reason for you to have more than one character. In fact, there's 2 different subscription levels for Final Fantasy XIV, and there's a cheaper subscription level if you only want to have one character on the server, and that's it, which is all you need, because one character can play every single job. When you get to a certain level, you'll basically be free to try out every job that you want, and it's just a matter of switching to a different weapon, and that'll switch you over to that job. You can save your gear sets where you just equip a weapon, it'll switch all your gear over to that, and you just play that job. And you can do that anytime out of combat. The only reason I've got a bunch of alts is usually at the end of an expansion, like now, which is what I'm doing for this stream, I'll get to a point where I'm kind of like, okay, there's not a whole lot to do at endgame for me. I feel like I'm caught up, but there's nothing I'm really pursuing. And I just kind of have gotten an itch to go back and play through the story again. Also, I'll get an idea in my head for a housing idea, which just basically it's an idea of, it'd be cool to make a room that looks like this. And so I'll make a character and just play through the game to experience the story. And then also when I get to 50, I make their housing, their room in our FC house. So I've got one that looks like a pirate captain's cabin. I've got one that looks like a blacksmith shop. I've got one that's basically the paladin. Think of it as like a paladin guild office liaison within our free company. And free company is a term in Final Fantasy XIV. That means just a guild from World of Warcraft. But guilds and the terminology is a little different. I'll go into it as we come to it. But since I can't do anything on Gilgamesh, we're going to just start this character on Midgard-Sormr. Use the same name I did on Gilgamesh as well as from my original World of Warcraft character. You do have first name and last name, so you can basically... You don't have to worry about if your first name from World of Warcraft is taken. You can just come up with a last name and still make the character you want to. Oh, one last thing. You can also, down here, you can change the background, you can change their poses, see kind of what environment you want to see them in different areas. get different lighting effects, get a full look at your character in different places if you want to do that. And then you can also check them, if you want to check them in their underwear, you can see. This is a little bit useful. There's a part in character creation that you can actually determine your character's musculature, like, you know, how defined are they versus, you know, are they you know, ripped muscle versus more smooth figure. But then you can click job, and you can see what your level 50 artifact job gear is going to look like. So this is a somewhat iconic look for the class from the game. The most known character doesn't have spikes quite this big on his armor, but nonetheless, it's kind of a look. And you can do that with it with all the jobs at the starting point. So you can go through and look at all of them, see what their level 50 like awesome gear is going to look like. But this is just your racial starting gear. And we will get rolling. And world is full. Queue times usually aren't bad. I've not seen it even anywhere near 100 in a while. It's been quite a while since it's been up there. It usually just takes a minute. Around the time of an expansion, though, when an expansion launches, you can have 5-10 minute waits.
Here. Here. Feel.
And I'll be going through all these. I'll read them. If not, I don't claim to be a voice actor. Oi! You alright, lad? You're moaning in your sleep and sweating buckets besides. That'll be the ether, I reckon. Some are more prone to the sickness than others. No need to fret, though. You'll soon get used to it. These furry creatures are another series staple. They've appeared in many, many games. Feeling better, Kupo? Aha, you can see us. I had a feeling you could, Kupo. We're Moogles, and we live in this wood. Normal folks can't see or hear us, which makes you special, Kupo. And seeing as how you're special, maybe you can tell us something. The wood's been restless of late. Lots of strange things happening. Have you chanced to witness anything suspicious, Kupo? But of course you haven't. You've only just arrived. Well, there's nothing for it then. We'll just have to keep looking. Nice to meet you, Kupo. And Kupo is just a phrase that Moogles have always said throughout pretty much all the games they've appeared in. I realize he can't see the Moogles, but could he not see the floating bottle when they picked it up? Gridania's still a fair way off, in case you were wondering. Seeing as you're awake, how's about you keep me company till we get there? Them young'uns don't care much for conversation, see? Bremont's the name, and peddlin's me trade. As for your good self, judging by your unusual garments, I'd say you're one of them new adventurers. Am I warm? I knew it. Going wherever the wind blows, seeking fortune and glory. Now that's what I call living. So long as you can avoid dying, I mean. Ain't no secret that adventuring's a risky business, these days especially. What was it that first attracted you to it? Power. Glory. To amass a fortune. I'm gonna go with the silent response. Well, if you ain't inclined to tell, I ain't about to pry. Might be as old Bremont's a chatterbox, but he sure as hell ain't no busybody. We all have a secret or three, don't we? Me? Dozens. And I'd rather they stay secret too, which is why I don't go sticking me nose where it ain't welcome. Just remember though, there's more important things than fortune and glory, such as breathing. Ain't no profit in being dead, and that's a fact. Halt! Go no further! What's this then? Ah! What's going on? A skirmish has broken out up ahead with the XIV. For your own safety, you must remain here until... Bloody hells! We shall hold him here! Try to break clear! That was too bleeding close. Nice of the XIV to send us a welcoming party though, eh? Joking aside, this won't be the last time you meet those feathered fiends, so you just take care, alright? By the by, is this your first trip to Gridania? We will say yes. Is it? Well then, let this journeyed itinerant tell you the ins and outs of your destination. The city of Gridania lies slap bang in the middle of the Black Shroud, the biggest, lushest forest in all Eorzea. Though it ain't near as lush as it used to be saying that, not since the Calamity laid half of it to waste. The destruction prompted a herd of new nasties to move in and gave the Ixil unneeded encouragement. Birdman raids have become a daily occurrence. Ah, at long last. Behold Gridania, the forest nation blessed by the elementals.
Close to the heart of Eorzea. Beneath the boughs of its towering trees lies the woodland city-state of Gridania. Once a sanctuary from the world beyond the hedge, even the mighty elementals, eternal guardians of the forest, could not forestall the coming of the seventh umbral era. However, the goddess Nofika was never one to forsake her children, and today she welcomes another brave soul. One who may yet play a telling role in the tale of this great realm.
Ah, here's where we part ways, son. I'm off to the markets to deliver me wares. Then it's back on the high road for me. Here, I want you to have this, by way of thanks for keeping me company. Hey, you never did tell me your name, did you? Well, here's an idea. Become the sort of storied personage I can brag about having met, and I'll consider us square.
May the matron take him to her bosom, that he may never want. And in his heart, sow serenity, purity, and sanctity.
You there! Yes, you! Your face is not known to me. Newly come to the city, no doubt. I am Bertinant, a wood whaler of Gridania. It is my duty to protect our nation from her enemies while welcoming those who may yet prove her friends. Let us see which you are. Welcome to Gridania, vibrant forest nation cradled in the bosom of nature. Please select the control scheme you want to use. Mouse on keyboard. Follow the instructions to move your character. Blah, 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 blah. I'll have to modify my UI later. I may not bother. I'm only going to get to a certain distance. There. So one thing new players are gonna come across is there are indeed a lot of menus, a lot of stuff's gonna come at you quick at the beginning, but it's really not that bad. Stance is just draw your weapon so you can actually have a combat pose. Actions and traits. So this is where all your abilities will show up as you get them. Role traits. This will be useful later on. So these are basically roles like, so DPS have these to select from, tanks have their own set, and then healers have their own set. General. So something a lot of people are gonna, this is easy to miss, but if you're new, you'll want to go here to General, pull down Limit Break, put that on your bar. If you're a healer, you're probably not going to need it until you're up into the in-game content. Tanks pretty much never get the opportunity to use theirs, which is kind of a shame. And then DPS, you want this on your bar. You're going to be using it in dungeons and then as well as at in-game. Normally I don't have sprint there, but... Currency. Eventually you're going to have different types of currency here. Gil is just your money type. Characters, you can see everything. You got all your attributes. It'll pay to take a look at these later on. You don't have to worry about them too much. Once you get to end game and you're looking at materia and stuff, it'll factor in. But until then, this is just basic RPG stuff. It'll go up as you level. Your gear will have stats on it as well. The only thing you've really got to worry about there is just equipping the right type. But they do pretty good about kind of limiting it of, you know, if you're a Disciple of War or a Disciple of Magic, later on it'll be limited by jobs and classes. Profile, this is just your information you started with. You will eventually be able to choose titles. And then your class and jobs, again, eventually you'll be able to play everything on one job. You can also do all your crafting and all your gathering on one job, so you never have to change to anything else. The armory chest. So when you open new things or come across new things, you'll have this pop up. So you can go through and you can read everything about it. I've seen a few WoW players who have tried this out, kind of say all this seems redundant, it's all basic MMO stuff. But keep in mind that whenever they were designing 2.0, they basically went into a lot of this with the thought of there's a good chance of a lot of Final Fantasy fans are going to try this out, having never played an MMO. So when you're looking at some of this stuff, don't think of it from a World of Warcraft or a Guild Wars 2 player. Just kind of think of some of it from the perspective of someone who's never played an MMO ever in any shape or form. A lot of that's what this is all popping up, is to help those folks kind of get acclimated to their first time playing an MMO. But the armory chest is essentially all your gear is going to go in here until it's full. If it's full, then it'll start going in your inventory. But essentially this just gives you a ton of starting inventory space, since all of your armor and weapons will go into the armory chest. And all of your items that you can sell or use for crafting will go into your inventory. Again, initiating quests. If you've played an MMO, you know exclamation point mean quest. Right click it. Another green adventurer, I presume. I thought as much. We cannot allow strangers to wander Gridania unchecked and untested. Before you rush off and begin pestering every second citizen for work, I suggest you make yourself known at the Carline Canopy. That's the headquarters of the local Adventurers Guild, in case you are wondering. The Carline Canopy is the building you see behind me. Speak to Mother Mion within, and she will take you in hand. So continue to look around our things down here. You do have achievements similar to WoW. They're not as in-depth. You don't have like beat bosses in certain ways for achievements. Duty, you got your key items. Your journal will bring up your quest log. You can also, you do have a completed quest log, which later on it's broken down nicely so you can find where different things are and where you left off on certain things. Timers, these won't come into play until later, so you don't have to worry about too much as a new player. Travel, you can bring up your map. You can also click up here to open it. party. That'll just show your party members, your friends list. You can blacklist people, which is good for real money traders trying to spam you with advertisements. Player search. So you can just hit name. You can search for people by first name, last name. You can filter it down by different things as well. Social, we got player search again. Fellowship finder, emotes. There are a ton of emotes in this game. Elves have to have that extra flourish. I always feel like all the waves are a little over the top. There is one that's more just a basic wave. I can't remember which one. I think you unlock it later. And the different races have different styles on some of their salutes and bows and waves. The soothe mode is amusing. There is actually a... I can't remember if it's an enemy buff or a debuff on the player, but there's a dungeon in the higher levels where you can actually remove a buff or a debuff by soothing. That's kind of a sad rally. So these are all your starting ones. You'll also have special, you'll get persistent ones, dances. There's also expressions, which if you zoom in enough, you can actually see your facial expressions will change based on your... And they stay there for a good bit. So yeah, there's a lot there that you can go through and mess with if you want to. The elves do have the weirdest names, as far as... I'm going to say weirdest, but then someone out there is like, eh, they're not that strange if you know another language. I feel like they probably take influence from probably an older style of French or something like that. You know, Antoine, as you heard in the earlier video, the Le Volier. I'm still not sure how you pronounce her name properly. I always assume it's Mother Moon. It's probably Mother Moon or Mother Moon. Well, well, what have we here? A wide-eyed and wondering young adventurer come to put your name down at the guild, I assume. Welcome. Moon's my name, or Mother Moon as most call me, and the Carlin Canopy is my place. As the head of the Adventurers Guild in Gridania, I have the honor of providing guidance to the fledgling heroes who pass through our gates. No matter your ambitions, the guild is here to help you attain them. In return, we expect you to fulfill your duties as an adventurer by assisting the people of Gridania. A fine deal, wouldn't you agree? To an outsider's eyes, all may seem well with our nation, but naught could be further from the truth. The people live in a state of constant apprehension. The XL and various gangs of common bandits provide an unending supply of trouble compounded by the ever-present threat of the Garlean Empire to the north, and that is to say nothing of the calamity. Even now, the wounds have barely begun to heal. But I speak of it as if you were there. Forgive me. 5 years past, Eorzea was well nigh laid to waste when a dread worm emerged from within the lesser moon Dalamud and rained fire upon the realm. It is this which people call the Calamity. Scarcely a square malm of the Twelveswood was spared by the devastation. Yet, despite the forest's extensive wounds, not a soul among us can recall precisely how it all happened. I am well aware of how improbable that must sound to an outsider. It is improbable. But it's also true. For reasons we can ill explain, the facts surrounding the Calamity are shrouded in mystery. There are as many versions of events as there are people willing to recount them. Yet amidst the hazy recollections and conflicting accounts, all agree on one thing, that Eorzea was saved from certain doom by a band of valiant adventurers. Whatever else we've misremembered, none of us have forgotten the heroes who risked life and limb for the sake of the realm, and yet, whenever we try to say their names, the words die upon our lips. And whenever we try to call their faces to mind, we see naught but silhouettes amidst a blinding glare. Thus have these adventurers come to be known as the Warriors of Light. Ahem. Pray, do not feel daunted by the deeds of legends. We do not ask that you become another Warrior of Light, only that you do what you can to assist the people of Gridania. Great or small, every contribution counts. I trust you will play your part. All that's left then is to conclude the business of registration. Here's a quill, scrawl your name right there. Oh, and I would appreciate if you used your real name. There is a special place in the 7th Hell for those who use amusing aliases. Looking at you, D's nuts. Faroth Ravenwing, And you're quite sure that isn't an amusing alias? Very well. From this moment forward, you're a registered adventurer of Gridania, nation blessed of the elementals and the bounty of the Twelveswood. The guild expects great things from you. Look at what just arrived, another God's damned adventurer. Don't you start with that. Adventurers are the very salve that Gridania needs. The Elder Seed Seer herself bade us welcome them with open arms. Do you mean to disregard her will? Of course not. Lest you forget, it is my sworn duty to uphold the peace. Am I to blame if outsiders bring mistrust upon themselves? You, adventurer! Mind that you do not cause any trouble here, or I shall personally cast you out of this realm and into the 7th Hell. Ahem. Pay that outburst no mind. He meant only to counsel you. Suspicious characters have been prowling the Twelveswood of late, you see, and the Woodwhalers feel they cannot afford to take any chances. As is often the way with folk who live in isolation, Gridanians are wont to mistrust things they do not well know, your good self included. Fear not, however. Given a catalogue of exemplary deeds, and no more than a handful of years, the locals will surely warm to you. On behalf of my fellow citizens, I welcome you to Gridania. May you come to consider our nation as your own in time. Now then, you may depend on Old Mother Moon to teach you a few things that every adventurer should know. I like the, with a number of deeds in a few years, they might actually treat you nice. So this is the most important thing if you're new hopping into 14. The main scenario quest is basically the only thing you need to worry about following, especially on your first job. Back when A Realm Reborn first launched, we actually did play through kind of like WoW, where you did your main scenario quest, but as you got to different zones, you did all the side quests to be able to level up to 50. They basically changed experience rates, so you only need to follow the main story quest. You don't have to do any of the side quests, unless you really want to. A lot of people don't even really find them useful for doing other jobs later on, just because it's faster to queue up and do dungeons and stuff. But if you're a DPS and you queue up for a dungeon and it's taking 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes, depending on where we are and how many people are doing what. It could be worth it to do some side quests while you're doing that. But it's also, there's a ton of other things you can do for experience, which you'll come across later on. Let us begin at the beginning, shall we? Now that you're a formal member of the Adventurers Guild, we must be sure you have a firm grasp of the fundamentals of adventuring. To that end, I have 3 tasks I wish you to perform. Your first task is to visit the Aetheryte. This massive crystal stands in the middle of the Aetheryte Plaza, not far from the Carline Canopy. As a device that enables instantaneous transportation, the Aetheryte plays a key role in the life of the ever-wandering adventurer. Once you have located the crystal, all you need to do is touch its surface. A member of the Wood Whalers will be present to offer you further instruction. For your second task, you are to visit the Lancers Guild. There is no better place to learn the arts of the polearm. Speak with Jillian, and she will explain the benefits of joining the guild. For your third and final task, I would have you visit the markets in the heart of Old Gridania's commercial district. There you shall find weapons and armor, and all the various items that an adventurer might need on his travels. There is, however, more to the markets than buying and selling goods. Speak with Parsemontre, and listen well to his counsel. The master merchant can be uncooperative at times, so be sure to offer him one of my famous eel pies. Like so many men, he is much more charitable when his stomach is full. Here, I made a batch not long ago. You have your tasks, Fareth. Now, Nothuka guide your path. Oh, and one more thing. Should you happen to come across any citizens in need, don't be afraid to proffer a helping hand. I am certain they will be pleased to meet an adventurer in whom they can confide their woes. Granted, the work they offer is unlikely to be of realm-shattering importance, but prove your worth and build a reputation, and in time folks will be more inclined to entrust you with matters of moment. I also suggest that you lend an ear to the smith here in the Canopy. The smiths are trusted representatives of the Adventurers Guild and are an invaluable source of advice for neophyte heroes seeking to attain greatness. Let's take a look here. We've got a Sprout, so there's a new player. Another new player. That's a new player. New player. They're not too new. 67. Sprout, Sprout. 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 So many new players. It's great. It's nice to see it. Much like WoW, you can hit the slant key on your number pad to switch over if you want to walk. If you want to do the roleplay walk at any point. We've got, these are minions. These are the Lalafels that a lot of people freak out about. Basically the equivalent of, they're the 14 version of gnomes and hobbits. Greetings, adventurer. I see you are faithfully following Mother Moon's instructions. Allow me to offer you a bit of instruction myself. I am Nissia of the Wood Whalers, and I know a thing or two about the Aetheryte. Yes, that big crystal right there. Aetherites are devices that tap into the ethereal energies and are primarily used as a means to travel swiftly from one place to another. Return and teleport, the most common transportation spells, make direct use of Aetherites and their connection to the flow of Aether. And as these devices are found in almost every corner of Eorzea, any adventurer worthy of the name will wish to seek out and attune himself to each one. Truly, few things in this world are so useful to an intrepid explorer. But you need not locate them all at once. Before rushing out into the wilds, I suggest you start with the Aetherites found here in Gridania. Should you wish to learn more about the Aetherite or transportation magic, I am here to answer your questions. So this is essentially how you're going to travel around. When you get to any town or outpost, they'll usually have one. You'll attune to it, and then that will open up your teleportation abilities, which we don't have yet. And that'll let you travel around. So if you're coming from World of Warcraft, it's essentially taking a griffin without riding a griffin. You just instantly teleport to the other place. So here's a bard. They're actually using the perform ability, and you can actually play your own music in the game with different instruments. And yes, elves do have kind of a stiff run. So on your map you'll have your quest icons showing you what you need to do and where they are. You can also pull them up, they'll be on the map. By what right does a fledgling adventurer presume to address Parsemontre, master of the markets? You think you can stroll in here bold as you please and demand my hard-earned knowledge? Ha! A merchant is not for naught, especially when dealing with would-be heroes. If, on the other hand, you had some tasty morsel to curry my favor, I might reconsider your request. Come now, this whole encounter reeks of None's handiwork, and more specifically her baking. Don't look so surprised, son. I smelled the eel pie of yours a malm away. Hand it over. So I've seen a few people mention the words kind of throw them. Malms are basically a distance. You can consider it a mile. So I smelled that eel pie of yours a mile away. Ilms kind of translates to inches, yalms, yards. I know that that's mixing two different systems, but you get the idea. It's basically just distance, and it's ilms, yalms, and malms. The flaky crust, just divine. Very well, I'm a man of my word. Pay close attention, for I shall only explain this once. The aspiring adventurer need look no further than the rosewood and ebony stalls. Both are but a short stroll from where we stand. If you mean to do battle, you'd best be prepared with quality set of weapons and armor. Such goods are the province of the rosewood stalls, directly south of here. You will be pleased to learn that the merchants of Gridania are exceedingly particular when it comes to craftsmanship, so you needn't fear defective straps and the like. If it is potions and paraphernalia you seek, head north to the ebony stalls. The shelves there are lavishly stocked by widely traveled Uldan merchants, and I may truly say that I have seen things amongst the myriad wares that I scarce knew existed. Do you follow me thus far? The first step in any purchase is to select the stalls that meet your needs, then you may concern yourself with price and profit. There is little more I can teach you with mere words. Go, peruse the stalls and see for yourself what wares they offer. There is no substitute for first-hand experience after all, and I am weary of talking, unless you have another eel pie. So we're saying here about handing over items. If you right-click an NPC, it'll pop up a little window for the item turn-in. You don't actually have to go and drag it. You can just right-click that little spot. It'll pop up the item. You can click it and then hand it over. I don't know how clearly it's coming across in stream audio, but if you listen closely when you're running around, here we'll turn off our background music a second. You'll hear footsteps change on the stone versus in the grass. And there's kind of a little sound like almost like a rubbery sort of sound. That's actually because the clothing I'm wearing is leather based. If you're wearing chainmail, there is a slight little chink sound of metal, clinking. And then if you're wearing plate, there'll be a slightly different sound there as well. So very subtle difference, but something I'd noticed that I thought was kind of neat. You could just hear that guy that ran by me. It has kind of the clinking sound. Welcome to the Lancers Guild. I see you brought your own spear. If you seek to refine your skills with the polearm, then you have come to the right place. Here at the Lancers Guild, spear wielders gather to train with one another and further hone their abilities under the tutelage of our fine instructors. More than just an instrument of war, the spear is also a tool for hunting, and with game ever plentiful in the Twelveswood, the weapon has been the mainstay of the locals here since before the founding of Gridania. With the passing of time, our nation became a gathering place for spearmasters from across the realm, many eager to test their mettle against the famed might of our wood-dwellers. And it was here in Gridania that their myriad fighting styles came into contact, eventually giving rise to the art taught here today. That spear technique would be formalized that all owed much to the founding of the Lancers Guild by wood-whaler Captain Mistal nigh on a century past. The tradition of accepting students from without as well as within Gridania's borders persists to this day, ensuring that the art of the polearm may not only survive but also continue to evolve. Well, there you have it. I hope this brief history of the guild has helped settle any doubts in your mind. The Lancers Guild was always eager to welcome new initiates. If you've a will to enlist, speak with me again, and we can begin the enrollment procedures. I actually don't have a choice. Well then, have you made up your mind to enlist in the Lancers Guild? Yup. Excellent. I shall let Guildmaster Ywain know to expect you. All who seek admittance to our rank must present themselves before him. He will judge if you are fit to become one of us. Pray, make your way to the training area within. Our Guildmaster awaits you there. Well met, adventurer. I understand you wish to learn the Lancer's art under our roof. Though you have doubtless brandished a spear before this day, and perhaps are even in earnest, you still have a long way to go before you may call yourself a Lancer in sooth. In my capacity as Guildmaster, I shall guide your training, beginning with the very basics, the principles of our art. There exist myriad fighting styles, each of which has its own unique qualities. None, however, can claim to be as offensively minded as ours. Our approach is never one of attack, no matter who or what we face. It's ever one of attack. An experienced Lancer is able to wield polearm as if it were an extension of his body. He transforms into a raging storm before his foes, delivering a barrage of devastating thrusts and slashes. To facilitate such a relentless assault, we Lancers forego plate, favoring armor of leather and chain, such materials as provide adequate protection without unduly hindering movement. A Lancer's worth may be measured quite simply in how swiftly and decisively he can pierce his enemy's defenses. By its nature, the polearm is a simple weapon to wield, for good or ill. Even in a farmer's hands, it is capable of wreaking considerable havoc. Thus has it been a mainstay of every great army since ancient times. Yet know that a lance alone does not a Lancer make. Faced with unfavorable odds, an unseasoned spearman will break formation and flee without a moment's hesitation. A true Lancer, however, flinches not before his enemies, for he knows not the meaning of fear. Ever does he press forward, disdainful of the odds, that he might pierce the enemy line and open a path to victory. Needless to say, doing so requires no small amount of courage, and that is why our guild has striven from the first to instill this essential quality in every soul who passes through our halls. Arduous trials await you should you join our ranks. Knowing this, have you the resolve to wield the lance? Well said, adventurer. I see no reason to deny you a place within our ranks. Ah, but I neglected to introduce myself. I am Ywain, master of this guild. Pleasantries duly exchanged, I hereby assign you your first task, a trial to be precise. In order to develop an affinity with your weapon and learn to gauge such things as distance, you are to go forth and brandish your spear with reckless abandon. The squirrels, ladybugs, and funguars that roam just outside the city should provide you with a suitable challenge. put down, let's say, 3 of each, and then report back to me. And it is now raining, so the weather does change through different zones. Up here next to your map, there's a little button here that'll give you what the weather currently is. Sometimes the weather will be different inside dungeons and boss fights, and they're kind of amusing to look at once in a while. Also, as you go around and attune to these, afterwards you can right click them, and whichever places you've opened up will be available to click and automatically teleport around town, so you don't have to run all over the place. Electric guitar was just recently added at this past FanFest. Why are there electric guitars in a high fantasy setting? Don't ask such questions, just accept that they exist. So as you enter into a new zone, you'll get achievements for mapping the realm. That, much like World of Warcraft, that used to be that you would have to... This would be fogged, and it would just unlock as you go to certain places. I don't recall if it does that still. I think it still does it in new zones for the new expansions when they come out. But they went back and basically changed for the old expansions to, as soon as you walk in, you get the full map unlocked, so... Just something to kind of make things a little easier for new players. As a lot of people in WoW first notice when they first come over, combat's a little slower paced, with the global cooldown being 2.5 seconds. That actually plays out fine later on. You'll get a lot of different abilities that you weave in between global cooldowns. Some jobs will actually have buffs, or you'll want to gear them for higher skill speed that brings their global cooldown down to 2 seconds. Other jobs actually want a slower skill speed so that their off global cooldown rotations actually flow more smoothly in the proper overall. And then also, something that a lot of people overlook is you'll actually want to look at your tooltips, specifically on melee classes, because you do have abilities that will do more damage if you're behind or at the flank of an enemy. So that slower cooldown actually gives you more time to attack, rotate into the other position, and then attack for your next one. So it's another thing that's worth looking into. I think a lot of people might overlook that whenever they're just thinking of just pure speed that WoW gives. And funny enough, after playing 14 long enough, if you go back to WoW, it's a little jarring of just how fast and spammy the combat feels. It is snappy as far as, push a button, things happen, but the overall speed of the cooldown, it almost feels just real spammy after you get used to this. So it's kind of funny if going back and forth between the two is a little bit of a adjustment from one to the other, back and forth regardless. Combat is typically shared, so that last one that turned purple that I attacked it, I still got credit for it, even though it was technically tagged by someone else. I like they use the for those who've never played Final Fantasy, that level up is the victory fanfare that has been across Final Fantasy pretty much from the very beginning. For just basically when you've defeated an enemy in the single player games, or defeated a group of enemies, it would play that fanfare. So they used it for the level up here. I always like the different level up options. The unique sound that EverQuest used to have that got associated with ding for leveling. And then the sound for World of Warcraft, the fanfare in this one. Stop here real quick. The conquering hero returns. You have completed my little tasks, I trust? The 3 locations you visited will feature prominently in your life as an adventurer. It is best you grow familiar with them as soon as possible. And you took the time to listen to the woes of the citizenry? Not really. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to lend your talents to one and all, no matter how trivial the matter may seem. I am thankful that you are an obliging sort, Faroth. It is adventurers like you who will win the hearts of the locals and pave the way for those who follow. I pray Gridania can rely on your aid in struggles to come. I actually clicked on her too quickly. I'm just getting the previous info. So if you see it's in red, you can click it, it'll tell you it's not available, what level you need to be in order to continue. Which I should probably hit 4 from just turning in the Way of the Lancer. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning, so you see here someone is Dong or SFE, Myth. So those are actually free company names, which is basically your player guild, but they're not the actual free company name. You can give a free company whatever name you want, fairly lengthy, but then whenever that group is formed, you'll also give it a nickname or like a shortened name, which I think has to be 4 characters long. And that's where you'll get the shortened abbreviations next to people's names. Obviously, I'm going over a lot of this information as kind of a starting point. As I keep going, obviously I'm doing the story. If you've never played the game and you're just thinking about it, I'll give you kind of a marked point of, okay, if you've watched up to this far, great, but you should probably stop. And if you decide you want to play it, experience the story for yourself. There's a certain point that I think is a good place that you can watch, because the story is a little different. Same general concept, but a little different depending on which city you start in. So you could actually watch someone play through their starting area of one city, and then you can choose the other 2 and experience different stories. So you're back. I trust you have learned something of the essence of our art. A lancer learns best when he is doing, each thrust making him stronger. Such things as strategy and technique will come in time. And never forget courage. Without it, you cannot hope to realize your potential. Your look betrays no hint of doubt. I would have you take with you this hunting log. It bears the names of the creatures against which a lancer might hone his skills. To be sure, there is no single way to master our art. The log serves to guide you should you find yourself in need of direction. That will be all for the present. Now take up your weapon, sally forth, and cut a path for yourself. When we next meet, I hope to see you stronger for your time out in the world. Oh no, I'm not level 4. So down here under logs, you now have your hunting log. So for all of the original jobs from A Realm Reborn, you'll have basically these lower level 1 through 10, 10 through 20, to 30 to 40 to 50, where basically it's just a series of targets in different zones. You'll see a lot of them as you're just running around doing stuff. But basically it's just a little XP bonus to, oh, there's a thing, kill 3 of them and you'll get an XP bonus. So little ladybug will get 75 XP, and then when you complete all of it on the page, you'll get this top reward at the top of the page. So we'll be looking at 75, 180, 360, 410. It adds up. Once you get all of those, you'll get an additional 2,500. Now we're level 5, we've got a second ability, which is basically just starting your rotation. 1 and 2. You will see that you've got some nice animations there. Still a little basic, but go ahead and go get the funguar taken care of. More sprouts. Man, a lot of new players. This is crazy that we're still months away from a new expansion. There's this many new players running around the starting area. Mightling in the North Shroud, which is a different zone. North Shroud, so we'll get there eventually. And you do have Sprint, you can hit that anytime. It's got 1 minute cooldown to recast, just basically that's your run. I believe it's the same speed as a mount for like 20 seconds or... yeah, 10 seconds in combat, 20 seconds not in combat. I was headed to the Lancers Guild, but I actually need to stop in here. There's a warrior. That's the warrior's job class 50 armor set. I think it's the... I think that is the secondary set. So you get a first set, and then you'll get an upgraded set. You used to have to work towards the second one. They just give it to you at 50 now to kind of streamline the gearing. But he's actually wearing these. This is all armor that you get from turning in currency that you get from doing dungeons and stuff. He's just glamored over it or transmog for WoW players to keep his job set. I always liked that warrior set. It's pretty cool. And then he changed to this. I don't know what that is. Farath, have you visited Bannock on your wanderings? It is a training ground found just outside the city where the soldiers of the Order of the Twin Adder are drilled in swordplay and other martial matters. I mention this because an acquaintance of mine, a gentleman by the name of Galfred, is an instructor there, and I think you may be of use to him. Go and introduce yourself, and find out if there's anything you can do to help. Mind you, do not stray far from the path. The Twelves Wood is no place for merry strolls through the underbrush. Nice some undertale back there. One second here. Burp. Still 4. Need to be 5 for the Lancer. Back we go again. Someone on their black chocobo flying. I'm not listening to him, I'm going off the road. Going through the underbrush. Weather Moon's not our real mother. She can't tell us what to do. Greetings, Farath Dravenwing. Moon sent word to expect you. My name is Galfred, and I am responsible for training our Twin Adder recruits. I thank you for volunteering your assistance. The Twelves Wood has much changed since the calamitous arrival of the 7th Umbral Era 5 years ago. The power of the elementals wanes, and the harmony of the forest gives way to chaos. A great abundance of life has been lost as the strong run rampant, stifling the weak and new sprung. Though it may not appear so to the eyes of an outsider, the Twelves Wood is ailing, its once rich variety a fading memory. For the citizens of Gridania, the restoration of the forest is a sacred duty, and it is my hope that adventurers such as you will offer to aid them in their struggle. Listen to their requests and do all you can. May the elementals bless your endeavors. So you'll get your quest pop up. You've got different options of what you want for your reward. So you've got Disciple of War, which is going to be your melee classes or your physical damage for the archer. Later on, there's other classes that'll be ranged physical. The all classes, altered thigh boots. So anyone can wear it, but intelligence in mind, it's obviously meant for casters. And if you run into a situation where you've got gear that's better than the quest rewards, there'll usually be a bronze piece here, and you can buy that, and you can just sell that for 100 gil to any vendor. If you want to, you could also just accumulate those, hoard them all, and then later, way later, like 2 expansions down the road, there's a way to sell them for double their value. Not too bad. I see you are eager to lend a hand, Faroth. That is well, but I cannot in good conscience send you into the forest until I have established that your equipment is equal to the task. It bears repeating that in the 5 years since the dawn of the Seventh Umbral Era, many of the Twelveswood creatures have transformed into vicious, bloodthirsty monsters. Venturing into the forest without proper gear is tantamount to suicide. I suggest you take some time to evaluate your equipment. Once you deem your armor to be sufficient quality, present yourself to me for inspection. So nothing unusual here. You've got item level. So here we've got item level 5 boots. I need item level 5 for head, body, hands, legs, feet. So head, body, hands, legs. Basically all your left side armor set. We could do quests for it. We've only got 337 gil. Probably need to do that. Because I don't think I can buy all of it. See if anyone's offering some gear here. Nope. Well, let's start out by seeing what the cost is to buy some. We can use our return for the first time. I could also somewhat skip around a bit ahead. I think I've got 20 mels. This is because I've been playing since Realm Reborn first came out. I've actually probably got 40 mil total, because as I take those out, other stuff's going to appear, but it's gear, mounts, minions, stuff that I've gotten from doing different events, buying collector's editions and stuff like that. It applies to all your characters. Again, there's no reason for you to make alts, but some of us are crazy, like me. Level 5. Yeah, see, just buying the helmet would wipe out my money. But I could get an eye patch instead. You can also right click and you've got item comparison to see what his stats are compared to what you've got. You can search if you've already got the item somewhere in inventory. And you can try it on to see what different things will look like. But I've already got another character for... I've got Faroth on the other server, and that's our goal, is to just get this one caught up to there so we can seamlessly transition over and continue the story. So I am going to go hit the mailbox, and I think some of that gear will get me up to where it needs me to be. I know if you're new, you're going to have to go and do some other quests, get some money, do some quests for gear. So I'm cheating a little bit for this video and this stream. It's the cloud gears, all level 1. Level 1. This thing I don't remember actually doing when I first restarted this character on my other server. I don't remember actually having to go buy gear or gear up. So I was thinking something in here met the requirements, but at the same time I thought all of this stuff was level 1. I'm going to have to end up taking stuff because it's... Minions. So minions are basically what you think they are. They're the same as pets from Warcraft. There we go, Helm of Light. The other thing is, I don't remember where some of these really came from. I don't remember what event. I know the Cloud Strife, I'm pretty sure, is a subscription. When you subscribed for long enough, you'll get rewards. They called them veteran rewards. They stopped doing it, though, once they got to a certain number of days. As long as we're just pulling out mail, I'll talk about another thing, because it works very different from World of Warcraft. So there is no bank for you to go to put items in for storage. Instead, you will eventually get a retainer, and that is it's a similar concept. You just go to a certain place, click on something, your retainer will come out, and from their dialog box, you'll basically just have access to have them store items. So that acts as your bank. You can also ask them to sell items, so that's how you list things on the auction house. The difference between these two is when you actually want to buy something, you go to the market board, which is basically the same as the auction house. And if you buy anything off the market board, it just automatically goes into your inventory. You don't have to ever go to the mailbox to pick it up. So I've seen some people feel like it's a little cumbersome, but if you really compare them, you're going to basically one place for your bank / auction house selling, and then the market board for auction house buying, but they're usually right next to each other, so it's really not much of a hassle. You don't have to run to a mailbox or anything like that. So this, to most people, goofy-looking helmet is actually from the original Final Fantasy, and this was the Amano's artwork for the Warrior of Light. There is a full set of armor that goes with this you can get later on, but the rest of the armor is a tank set. So you can also click hide. You don't have to show the helmet. Gear, maid's gear, mask, minion. What's that? Don't care about that. That's Brofist. Carbuncle, minion. Zydane's gear from Final Fantasy X. Firion is from Final Fantasy II. No, that's still item level 1 set. I may be wrong. I may have to go do a little work. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little work. Well, darn. Forget the helm, so I just need chest piece, gloves, and pants. Gloves are probably cheapest. You can also click recommended gear. It'll basically default and show you what you can upgrade to if you want to just speed upgrade items. So I still... oh no, why did I buy the eye patch? That was stupid. That was stupid. I wasn't even thinking. need... $140... Basically $250, and that'll leave me a little left over. Actually, the oh, all I needed was the helmet. The set is actually level 5. I was just missing a helmet. Durr. Okay. Well, let's go. Ready for inspection, are we? Right then. Eyes forward. Back straight. Yes, I think you pass muster. You'd be surprised at how many young, promising soldiers get themselves killed by rushing off into the woods without first donning a decent set of armor. Your equipment, however, should provide the required degree of protection. Consider yourself ready for duty. Get a new spear. Now we've got Life Surge. Critical damage for first weapon used when Life Surge is active. So basically a DPS boost. I'm going to put that over. Far off by your tireless efforts, you have proven yourself a friend to Gridania. I believe you can be trusted with sensitive intelligence. I would assign you a mission of considerable import, yet the need for secrecy prevents me from disclosing its details until you have pledged your participation. I am authorized to tell you only that it concerns suspicious activity in the Twelves Wood. Say that you will lend us your aid, and I shall proceed with the briefing. Good. Time is of the essence, so listen well. You will by now have heard that a suspicious individual has been seen prowling the Twelves Wood, and you may also be aware that XIV activity has risen sharply in the region of late. What you may not know is that this increase coincided almost exactly with the first recorded sighting of the aforementioned individual. Suspecting a connection, we tightened our surveillance in hopes of tracking down our unknown visitor. Alas, our quarry is proving to be exceedingly elusive, almost as if he knows our movements ahead of time. But where whole units have failed, a lone adventurer may yet succeed. Acting independently and covertly, you may be able to close in on our quarry unnoticed. Fear and anxiety are beginning to take their toll upon the citizenry, Faroth. For their sake, I ask that you aid us in this investigation. You have my gratitude. With your help, I am hopeful we will shed light upon this mystery. Begin your search at Lifemen's Stump. It is there that the majority of the sightings took place. Be forewarned, my people cannot offer you support, lest our quarry catch scent of our presence and invade us yet again. Proceed with caution. So our weather's changed from rain to thunder. Which does sound really cool if you've got a headset on. Or I imagine if you've got really kick-ass speakers. So this is a Fate, which basically is a world event. If you've been in Guild Wars 2, kind of like the world events in Warcraft as well. Basically, you've just got things that pop up in the world. They'll have some sort of something necessary you need to do, whether it's just kill enemies or pick up items, deliver them to somebody. And as you finish it, as different people do it, it'll fill up down here. You can also see the progress on the map. The Fates, they'll have a little bit of story information here of what's going on, what you're basically trying to take care of in there from the story perspective or the world perspective. And the Fates are often going to have the little jokes, whether they be wordplay, puns in the title, or the pop culture references like you're used to in World of Warcraft. Those will usually be in the Fates, but they don't come into the actual story or the quest lines. In fact, they're pretty much solely found in the Fates, nowhere else. Got a sword. So we're going to go into an instance battle. They only occur during certain quests and missions. So that's going to be just what it sounds like. It's just an instance for you and you alone that you take part in. These will pop up in the story.
Look! Someone's already here. Oh dear. Is that a sword in the stump? Bad idea. Really bad idea. It takes a lot less than that to incite the Green Wrath, you know. Why, the first time we came to the Twelves Wood, we almost ended up as a stranger dinner, just for crashing our airship in the wrong place. It was all Papalymo's fault, of course. Though, he'd sooner swallow his staff than admit that he's wrong.
That probably needs to be reported as a bug. That happened the first time, is that he talks over her, the dialogue rolls over it.
No, not this one. Not even close. Kupo!
You know him, Kuplo Kop?
Well, not exactly, but we did once share a carriage. Isn't that right?
How are the readings?
Same as the last. There is a disturbance here as well. And newly manifested at that. Kuplo Kop seems convinced of your innocence. But if this isn't your doing, whose is it?
Ever since the calamity, the forest's been really sensitive. The slightest disruption to the etheric flow, and this sort of thing happens.
versatile choice.
Hear, feel, think. Crystal Bearer. I am Hydaelyn, all made one. A light there once was that shone throughout this realm, yet it hath since grown dim. And as it hath faltered, so hath darkness risen up in its stead, presaging an end to life. For the sake of all, I beseech thee, deliver us from this fate. The power to banish the darkness dwelleth in the crystals of light. Journey forth and lay claim to them. By thy deeds shall the crystals reveal themselves to thee. Only believe, for the light liveth in thy heart. Shine thy light on all creation.
I've always felt like the actress was channeling her Galadriel from Cate Blanchett's performance. Now that music that was playing with Heidel in there is
You
called...
fainted. A surfeit of ether, no doubt.
It's basically called Prelude, and that's been another... it's been basically... That and one other song are kind of the Final Fantasy themes running through the entire series. So the Prelude and the Final Fantasy main theme are basically reused in every game in the series, even though almost none of the games are directly connected to each other. You've got a few XX or 10, 10-2. Obviously those are direct sequels, but Final Fantasy 1 has no connection to Final Fantasy 2. Neither of them have any connection to 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's if you ever want to play another one and you've never played a Final Fantasy game, you can really dive into any of the numbered titles, and it's a fine place to start. It's all a self-contained story. There's no connection, so it's not an ongoing series, despite being an ongoing numbered entry.
And what have we here?
Our culprit, it would seem, an Ixal. And no ordinary Ixal either. A chieftain. That they would venture this deep into enemy territory, the beastmen may indeed be acting under orders. This is Papalimo. We found
How
the
are we
culprit.
feeling then?
It was an
Better?
Ixal chieftain.
Good.
Yes, we'll seek Brother Esunian's cooperation in the matter. Ida? Oh, loud, tactless. Much the same as always.
Giant crystals? Can't say I've seen any. Are you sure you're feeling better?
Understood. Over and out.
So as far as this goes, because this may seem weird to people, they're not using like a cell phone or anything like that. So whenever anyone brings their hand up to touch around their ear, they are basically using... it might as well be considered a Bluetooth receiver in their ear. But essentially, Final Fantasy XI and then Final Fantasy XIV used it from 11, introduced the concept of what's called link pearls. So the idea is it's like a little pearl that allows for communication across a channel. So they basically kind of use it as a in-game radio or an in-game way of communicating across long distances. And so for Metal Gear Solid fans, it is very much like a codec of just, they push the ear to activate it and they communicate with each other. But you can actually, they have link shells, which is basically a communication channel. In World of Warcraft, it would be the general channel or trade chat. But you create them and then invite people into it, so you can have different people that are maybe not within your guild, but like say your raid group. If you've got 8 people in a raid group and they're all from different guilds, you could create a link shell, and then you'd all have a channel that you could talk in. Even when you're not in raid and not in a raid party, you could basically still chat with people from outside your guild in that channel. But yeah, so the link shell and then the link pearl is what you get to join a link shell. So the link pearl is basically, that's what they're using anytime they're doing something like this.
Kublokop, please bear word of these developments to Brother Esumiyan. We shall soon return to give a full report.
Understood. Over and out. Kupo!
Here is where we part ways. Till next time, take care.
I think that sword might be a clue. You should definitely pull it out and take it back to the Bannock. You don't suppose that adventurer could see Kublokop, do you?
And this occurs to you now? Yes, it seemed that way. Time will tell.
Well, time will have to, because you won't. You never tell me what's really going on. Unless you don't know what's going on either.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
So again, if you're watching this, I'll post this on YouTube as well. So if you're watching through all this and the voice acting is kind of turning you off at all, but you're considering the game, just again keep in mind that 2.0 was basically being developed at the same time as they were continuing to develop 1.0. So they're basically making 2 games simultaneously. 1.0 had basically just flopped by all definitions of the term, and so voice acting was not a high priority, nor would I assume it was in the budget to be much of a priority. So Realm Reborn has fairly rough voice acting. Some of the later patches get better, but a lot of Realm Reborn has rougher voice acting than the later expansions do. Some of it being almost a little comical in how rough it is here and there. It's passable for the most part. It's nothing amazing, but it's not exactly completely ear-grating, except at a point here and there are a few scenes where you're just kind of like, oh man, that didn't come off too well. And just thinking through it in my head, I think my goal is going to be, I'm going to try to get through an expansion with Faroth here. 1 expansion per month. So I'm going to try to do Realm Reborn in July, try to get through all of Heavensward in August, Stormblood in September, and then Shadowbringers in October, which would then bring us up to November, where we're going to hit the new expansion. And unfortunately at that point, if I actually get people interested in watching this, I don't know that I will, but if I did, unfortunately, then at that point I'd be in a situation of, well, Faroth has to take a back seat because my main character is going to play through the expansion first. Ah, you have returned. I take from your presence that you have gained a measure of familiarity with your weapon. Good. You're ready to begin the next phase of your training. You will recall my telling you that it takes no small amount of courage to be a lancer. Now, in general terms, courage is the strength to do something which one finds unnerving. However, a lancer's notion of courage is not so simple. Having first drawn a distinction between courage and recklessness, he then divides the former into two aspects. I would have you learn each with spear in hand. The first is composure. When outnumbered in battle, a lancer may lose his composure and succumb to panic. Should this happen, all of his training will swiftly flee his mind, and he will struggle to overcome opponents whom he would ordinarily have bested with ease. He will, in short, contribute to his own defeat. If you wish to become a lancer in sooth, you must learn to maintain your composure at all times. Do this, and you will be able to call upon every ounce of your strength and skill when it matters most. And so to your first task. The riverbanks of the Central Shroud are home to Vilekin known as Yarzons. Fiercely territorial, the creatures will attack anyone who strays too close, making them the bane of fisherfolk. These typically fall upon their prey en masse, barring all avenues of escape before closing in on the kill. What must go through the mind of the victim in that instant? Panic? Despair? Be sure to tell me upon your return. Needless to say, I would have you brave such an encounter. Take this sack of decidedly noisome bait, and use it to lure the ever-ravenous creatures out of their nest. It may be that only one curious Yarzon appears, but what if 2 or 3 follow the scent? Let us see how you fare then. Go now, my young lancer, and learn what it means to fight with composure. So there was another term in that exchange, an ons, which is basically an ounce. There's also another phrase, I guess, was in there, Vilekin. So creatures are basically lumped into different categories of kin. So animals would be beastkin, Vilekin are basically insect-like creatures. I don't actually know what a funguar would fall into since it's a plant. Or a fungus. And then the tree ants are plant. Oh, we got some hunting log enemies here. Basically snake heads with spider legs attached to them. Farth, it's good to see you back. One of our patrols sent word that you had been spotted doing battle with enraged treants. I'm relieved to find you none the worse for the experience. But tell me, what were you able to discover at Lifemen's Stump? I got this sword, an ornately decorated sword found thrust into Lifemen's Stump. A sword in the stump, and a dead Ixal? I can say with absolute certainty that this blade is of Ixali origin. It is a kind used exclusively in the Beastmen's rituals. The Ixal rarely set foot in the central shroud, so tight is our guard over the area. What purpose could have driven them to take such a risk? I fear something is afoot. What's that? A dubious couple sporting peculiar spectacles? So, you've finally been acquainted with Ida and Papalimo. Lay your suspicions to rest. Gridania counts them among her staunchest allies. Both are scholars hailing from a distant land and have been with us since before the calamity. Their garb may appear outlandish and their exchanges baffling, but never once have they given us cause to doubt them. Indeed, they often assist the gods Quiver and the Wood Whalers in their work, much as I hope you will in the days to come, Faroth. Although our unknown visitor eludes us still, owing to your efforts, we have acquired important intelligence on the Ixali threat. You have my gratitude. We are fortunate indeed to have a capable adventurer such as you aiding us. I pray you will continue to serve the people of Gridania in whatever capacity you are able. So actually in 1.0, if you started a job in Gridania, or started a character in Gridania, Ida and Papalimo were actually part of your opening starter quest, and it was with a treant going berserk. Faroth, injuries to several of my men have left me short-handed, and I require a capable sort to complete their unfinished duty. The task is simple. Put down as many of the local Chigoe population as necessary to acquire 3 of their egg sacs. Having done so, you are to deliver them to Moranguin at Gilbert's Spire. He will answer any queries you might have. Now, I have other business to attend to. I'm going to go back and turn in my Lancer gear because I get some nice armor from it. Welcome back, Faroth, and well done. I trust you now understand that in times of direct need, no amount of skill or strength with a spear will avail the Lancer who lacks composure. You are now ready to learn the second aspect of a Lancer's courage, resolve. When faced with a terrible foe, a Lancer may succumb to fear and self-doubt. Should this happen, he will become defensive, and in seeking to cover his weakness, surrender his greatest strength, namely, his capacity to attack. Good grief, I've never seen this many people at a trainer before at one time. This is man. A Lancer who fears to attack is not but a man holding a pole. His spear may as well be a broomstick for all the good it would do him. It is not and will never be a shield. That you may learn the truth of my words firsthand, I bid you to go to Central Shroud, to an area joining the abandoned dungeon known as Spirit Hold. Since the calamity, that neck of the Twelves Wood has become a veritable menagerie of fearsome fauna. There you will find 3 collapsed pillars, which have become a haunt for fell creatures. You are to put them down. What manner of fiends can you expect to encounter? To reveal that would be to defeat the purpose of the lesson, my young Lancer. I will say only this, if you face these foes with a Lancer's resolve, you will surely emerge the victor. Once you have completed that trial, pray report to Jillian in the entrance hall. She has grasped 2 aspects of courage, albeit with some trouble. Though I doubt you will encounter similar difficulties, her struggle has furnished her with certain insights which I think you would benefit from hearing. The Lancer learns best when he is doing, aye, but the wisdom from his seniors is not entirely without worth. Go now, Faroth, and do as I bid you. I come back here real quick. I'm gonna grab a picture of that. I gotta share this with my FC. Jack Mist is doing botany, basically cutting down getting some wood, cutting down a tree without actually cutting down the tree. These trees are magical, man. They just keep giving wood. He sent me here to kill some flies with a spear. You know what kind of skill that would take? I tell you, a lot. You know, just a big giant toad hiding in a tree. As giant toads are known to do. Just hanging out in trees, man. A carpenter. Ah, you must be the adventurer standing in for our injured companions. Terribly unfortunate business, that. It seems, however, that you had little trouble gathering the egg sacs in their stead. Excellent work. I shall have them sent over to the Trappers' League immediately. Lest you wonder, these egg sacs are not destined for the dinner table. Members of the Twin Adder and the Wood Whalers are assisting the League by collecting the samples they need to check for signs of sickness. The Chigo, you see, is one of the few creatures capable of transmitting the disease known as the Creeping Death. Until relatively recently, any Hyur, that would be humans, who contracted this ghastly illness would almost invariably perish. Indeed, a single outbreak once claimed the lives of a third of the Huron population here in Gridania. That was a long time ago, of course. With the medicines available to us now, the Creeping Death is not the killer it once was. Even so, it is best to halt any new outbreaks before they occur. Thus we gather Chigo eggs on a regular basis in order to assist the Trappers' League with their ongoing research. Your timely assistance is most appreciated. Roll actions! So I've got Second Wind. That is a self-heal. Such an embarrassing turn of events. I sent a recruit from the Bannock on a surveying expedition, only for the Craven to turn tail and flee at the first sign of trouble. This is not how we treat requests from the Conjurers, and as if such a poor showing weren't bad enough, the lily-livered half-wit left behind the surveying equipment provided by Hearer Pauline herself. While I attempt to instill some backbone into this so-called soldier, would you mind recovering the surveying gear and returning it to Hearer Pauline at Gabinot's Boyer? According to my recruit's tale of woe, there should be a set of survey records, a surveyor's rope, and 2 boxes of surveyor's instruments strewn about the interior of a cave to the south of here. It's a wonder the damn fool didn't lose his boots. Matron, watch over you. Heard another wood chopper. Archer, Lancer, Lancer. That's a White Mage. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Too fast for you, bugs. Gabinose Bower. Yes, may I assist you with some matter? Here is yo stuff. Oh, but this is the equipment I left with the soldiers of the Bannock. Fled at the first sign of danger, you say? I see. Well, all is not lost. It appears the recruit managed to complete the surveying assignment. The records are actually quite detailed. With the changes wrought by the calamity, I thought it wise to send the Order of the Twin Adder on a number of expeditions to map the region's topography. As fortune would have it, the officers saw these tasks as an excellent opportunity to train inexperienced soldiers. We can no longer rely on our past knowledge of the Twelveswood. If we are to survive these troubled times, we must reacquaint ourselves with our surroundings, that we may better discern the threats we face. Stay vigilant, adventurer. Funny thing with some of these outfits, because of the dark night elf skin match I did, sometimes the gray on clothing actually makes him look half naked. But I'm about to get armor for my job quest, so. I hesitate to make such a dangerous request, but might you assist us in thinning the number of anoles on Naked Rock? In our efforts to commune with the elementals, we conjurers often find ourselves in the area. Of late, however, our meditations have all too frequently been interrupted by unprovoked anole attacks. Truly, the beasts grow more aggressive by the day. Their numbers have continued to grow since the advent of the 7th Umbral Era, you see, forcing packs of the Scalekin, dragon and lizard types, to come down from the mountains in search of food. If you could slay a handful of the beasts, that should lessen their need to hunt, and also serve as a warning to the gnolls to remain within their territory. But I'm afraid you must do more than thin the existing population. If we are to truly break this spiraling growth, then we must also target their future offspring. Bring me one of their eggs, and you will have played your part in returning balance to this area of the forest. So yeah, Gridania is often kind of dismissed as the hippie nation, but because their whole, one with nature thing. But they're very much, the whole idea is like the maintaining balance in the forest, not letting the predators get too out of control, not letting any species basically go under. And it's not to get too deep into some stuff that gets mentioned later, but it's basically, it's not like Gridania just does this of their own accord, like they're just, oh, we've got to be friends with nature. The stuff that Ida and Papalimo talked about, the Green Wrath, is like legitimately, like World of Warcraft, the spirits will basically, if someone's doing something to put nature out of balance, then the spirits will basically wreak havoc on them. Quite violently, in fact. Ah, you've returned. Now might my brothers and sisters continue their meditations undisturbed. You have my thanks. As for the egg, may I ask you to deliver it to Sub Camazon at the Bannock? Anole eggs are both large and filled with nutrients, the perfect meal for a soldier. She will be more than a little pleased to see you, I should imagine. Who goes there? Oh, Farth, it's you. Another delivery? I'm not certain I should be the one to... By Novika, that's an Anole egg. The troops will be glad indeed to see one of these at the table. And you say here Pauline sent you on this errand? I hear the Anoles are more numerous than ever, yet you appear to have managed the task with your skin intact. Your skill and bravery continue to amaze me, Farth. New spear. Farth, thank the gods you've come. We have a potential crisis on our hands, and I would appreciate your assistance. Will you hear me out? Listen well, for we haven't much time. To the southeast of here lies a dungeon known as Spirit Hold. It was all but destroyed during the calamity. Desiring to offer the ruins back to the forest, a hero ventured inside to carry out the rite of returning. Alas, it would seem something has gone awry. Word arrived just moments ago that the hero and his guards have been attacked by a towering shadow. Aye, you heard me true, a shadow. On any other day I would dispatch my best quivermen to provide support, but I sent them to repel an Ixalia incursion in the West Shroud nary a bell ago. The timing of these events cannot be mere coincidence. I fear the Ixal somehow caught wind of our plans and are attempting to disrupt the rite in an effort to weaken the bond between man and elemental. They must not be allowed to succeed, and so I bid you go to Spirit Hold and do whatever is necessary to resolve the situation. Please, say you will help us. I knew you would not let me down. You'll have all the support I can muster. Now we are racing against time, so you had best make haste. Who goes there? An adventurer, is it? Here at Instructor Galfred's request, you say? Thank the matron. Doubtless you already know this, but a towering shadow manifested without warning and attacked the hero in the midst of the rite. Most of his party has been successfully evacuated, but 5 remain unaccounted for. Please find them and see them out of harm's way. They ride inside. Adventurer, please, you must save the hero. Alfred sent you? I'm no longer of use here. Please, Help the hell, help the hero. Away, Valthine! Away, I say! I defy you! I defy you! Huh? Oh, an adventurer. We were ambushed. Ambushed in the midst of the ritual. And then I'm not sure what happened. Away, foul Damon! You were sent to help? I fear you're too late. The ritual has failed. I must needs return to Britannia. The Seed Seer must know of this. That thing was no elemental, but a being born of darkness. The hero languishes alone in the depths. You must help him. O mysterious figure. O mournful voice of creation, grant ye this humble stone a soul that it may wake to life. But are you strong enough to withstand this? Are you strong enough to withstand this, or are you just gonna step out of the way? Impossible. Never has the golem been so sorely tested. That the golem could be vanquished. That man is no ordinary adventurer. Damnation! He has eluded us yet again. Oh, fancy meeting you here. How are things? I like after all this. Hey, what's up? Whatever are you... Shh! More birds. This makes how many times today? 7? Their movements are beyond our fathoming. Do you think maybe they're trying to summon their primal? I hope not, for all our sakes. Yet we must be prepared for the worst. Withered. The same fate has befallen Emerald Moss. It is as we feared. Dalamud's anomaly is affecting life in the 12's Wood. You mean the disturbance in the etheric flow? The very same. The Garleans have a lot to answer for. The imbalance they have created is plunging the land into chaos. just as Louis Soir forewarned. It's no wonder the primals have started appearing. Time is against us, but there is still hope for the land. We must hold fast to that hope and fight to the very last. Agreed. Stupid things. The stupid things happen to be the very latest in Charlian innovation. Show some respect. But they're so uncomfortable and ugly. If you ask me, they're an improvement over that mask of yours. It's hard to believe it's already been 5 whole years, isn't it? Already? 5 years is but a heartbeat in the life of the planet. I suppose you're right. Now that I think about it, the Twelveswoods barely recovered at all, and the Gridanians still have the same old problems. Aye, along with some new ones. Just in case the Ixal and Garuda weren't troublesome enough, the Sylphs had to go and invite Ramu, didn't they? Do you ever think about those adventurers who fought alongside us? I do. And then 5 years seems like ages. I wonder what became of them. Ida, look! Golly! Is that... and this is what exactly? Yet another disturbance in the ether, and freshly manifested at that. It seems to be emanating from Lifeman's stump. We must hurry. Are you all right? Your eyes glazed over for a while there. The good news is the hearer is unharmed. Somewhat dazed, yes, but whole of mind and body. The bad news concerns everything else. Lest you forget, the Twelveswood is the domain of the elementals. It is by their leave that man abides in the forest and avails himself of its bounty. The ground which the dungeon occupies is no different. Having no more use for the dungeon, the Gridanians sent a hearer to offer the place back to the elementals by way of the right of returning, which is essentially an expression of gratitude. Alas, he failed to complete the ritual for obvious reasons. While the poor soul cannot be blamed for this, the fact remains that unless the elementals are given their due, they may well consider it a slight. And the very last thing the Gridanians can afford to do in these uncertain times is risk alienating the Twelveswood's eternal guardians. But you have more than done your part. We shall see to the hearer's safety, and send for his peers to finish the rite. In the meantime, please make your way outside and report to Alistan. But where are my manners? I am Papalimo. The tactless woman beside me here is... Ida. Papalimo and I are serving the Twelveswood together. Pleased to meet you. Ida, give me a hand, would you? Wait, there is something familiar about you. Could it be that you were... Never mind. Doubtless my eyes are playing tricks. Till we meet again. All this happened inside Spirit Hold? 12 preserve us. Who was that masked mage, and by what dark ambition is he driven? So many things shrouded in mystery. Well, I shan't find any answers on my own. I must needs discuss this with Galfred. The matter warrants a full investigation if I am any judge, and that shall certainly be my recommendation. Your courage has saved many lives this day, adventurer. For this you have my deepest gratitude. Pray return to Gridania and seek out Mjoln. I understand she wishes to thank you for your efforts on our behalf. I've been expecting you, Faroth. By your return, I trust you now understand the importance of resolve. Like one's flesh, courage can be made strong. It is a matter of training each of its aspects. Now, the endeavor may prove difficult in the beginning. Gods know how much I struggled. You may suffer untold humiliation and more frustration than you can bear, but you must persevere. Whenever you engage an opponent, whether in training or in earnest, make a conscious effort to fight with composure and resolve. Over time, doing so will become second nature, and you will acquire such courage as you never thought could be yours. Mind you, not all battles entail a physical clash of might. It could simply be a disagreement born of conflict and ideology. The point is, it matters not what battlefield you stand upon, so long as you take care to be composed and resolute, your courage will grow. Did that make any sense? Even a little? I fear I cannot hold a candle to Guildmaster Ywain, but if there is aught I can do to assist you in your training... What was that? Something's afoot in the training area. And you call yourselves Lancers? Pathetic. You're next, Guildmaster. Arm yourself and face me. Refuse, and all will know that you are no true Lancer. Say what you will, I'm above your provocation. Craven to the last man. But what have we here? Wait, he is but a novice. That makes no odds to me. You yourself admitted him to your ranks, did you not? Very well. I shall withdraw for now. Yet know that only the fearless are fit to wear the mantle of Lancer. I look forward to measuring your worth in the days to come. There is not more to see. Return to your drills. Faroth, you made no attempt to evade his thrust. Did your opponent so unnerve you as to deprive you of your senses? Well, it is of little consequence now. You need pay no further heed to our invited guest, lest you wonder it is not common for challengers to come pounding on our door, seeking to test their mettle. For now, dedicate yourself to tempering the two aspects of courage, the composure to bring the sum of your strength and skill to bear against your foes, and the resolve to attack when fear would stay your hand, as befits a Lancer. When next we meet, I shall have another trial for you, one that will put your courage to the test. Until then, continue to apply yourself to your training. Farewell, Faroth. Yeah, armor's starting to look good, except for the blue gloves. Not really. Ah, Faroth, I swear you have gained an elm around the arm since we last spoke. Seconds ago. It is plain you have not been idle. In our previous lesson, you learned the Lancer's definition of courage and how you might go about tempering its two aspects. Today we shall find out if your efforts have borne fruit. I see you have come prepared for battle, that as well. Your next trial will place you in the midst of a throng of enemies. In such a situation, one may be attacked from any direction, making it difficult to respond appropriately. Furthermore, the likelihood of being surrounded is high. Will your resolve bear the weight of uncertainty? Will your composure hold when the odds are stacked against you? We shall soon find out. Should you overcome this trial, what courage you already possess will be further tempered. Now heed me well, for this is what you must do. I would have you travel to Naked Rock, where the Anols claim dominion. At the summit of the rock is a sacred artifact, the Stone of Courage. You must claim it and bring it to me. If you are to reach your destination, you will need to negotiate a path through the whole packs of flesh-eating Skelkin. Make no mistake, the creatures are intimidating foes. To stride into the midst of so many would ask much of any Lancer's courage. But given time and no small amount of perseverance, I'm confident you will prove equal to the task. So now the armor's got more of that metallic clink to it. Congratulations, you've obtained the false Stone of Courage. You heard me right. False. What does that say about your courage, I wonder? Ah, but where are my manners? My name is Fulquus. We had the pleasure of meeting at the Lancers Guild, if you recall. On that occasion I turned my weapon upon you, and you betrayed not a hint of fear. It was in that instance that I sensed you were unlike the others, that you had promise. And so, to the present, In its current state, the trial in which you are engaged, if trial it may be called, makes a mockery of the Lancer's art. Needless to say, this cannot be tolerated, and so I have taken the liberty of moving the Stone of Courage to a more suitable location. It now resides in the depths of Spirit Hold, under the guard of fell fiends, a far more fitting challenge, as I'm sure you will agree. Whether or not you attempt to retrieve the stone is for you to decide. If you fear for your safety, I suggest you run back to the guild and bemoan the world's frightfulness to the many brave souls who cower there. Egwene will doubtless consider it a supremely courageous act. Yet know that a lancer may forge true courage only in the midst of great danger. So you have returned. Tell me, were you able to obtain the Stone of Courage? Yes, this is indeed the stone, though it is in rather worse condition than when I last saw it. What happened at Naked Rock? The Lancer who but recently threatened you moved the stone to Spirit Hold? Not content with trespass and slander, the brazen fool now meddles with our training? 7 hells, this is not to be borne. Listen well, Faroth. Though I do not doubt that you know better, my duty as Guildmaster compels me to state the obvious. Heed not the man's words. That a Lancer's courage can only be forged in the midst of great danger is vainglorious tripe. As you have already learned, a Lancer's courage is the product of composure and resolve. Be under no misapprehension. Watchfully navigating the Annul's territory served to temper your courage in a manner that blindly braving the terrors of Spirithold did not. As you continue your training, pray keep this lesson of this trial close to your heart. Now, before you return to your adventuring, there is one more thing I would tell you. In recognition of your unwavering efforts in the trials thus far, I hereby grant you leave to join other guilds. Naturally, you must seek the permission of the relevant guildmaster before commencing your training. Gridania is home to a great many guilds besides our own. If you consider combat your calling, the archers and the conjurers have a strong presence in our nation. Should you crave a more peaceful pastime, you may alternatively consider joining leatherworkers, carpenters, and botanists. While there is something to be said for broadening one's horizons, it is also important to maintain focus. Always bear this in mind. As your guildmaster, I would naturally prefer you first master the Lancer's art. Rest assured that there will be time enough to take up another discipline when you have done so. Yet whatever path or paths you choose to walk, I will look forward to seeing you realize your obvious potential. I'm not high enough level. So he's wearing an outfit that you will get from doing the Hall of the Novice. So whenever you first came into Gridania or any of the ones you go to, and the Adventurers Guildmaster is telling you about the Smith, if you talk to them, you can do different trials to get that. Since I kind of know what I'm doing and I know kind of where this and that is and all that, I usually just wait until I get there in a natural progression. Welcome back, Faroth. A little bird tells me that the hero and his party owe you their lives. A tale for the tavern if ever there was one. It is only a shame that I must ask you not to tell it, for the time being at least. Do I make myself clear? Until the hearers have made their will on the matter known, it would be best to avoid unsettling people with stories of walking statues. Now then, you must have suitable recompense for your valiant service. For the first half of your reward, I give you leave to make use of the accommodations here at the guild. Arrangements have been made, so all you need to do is speak to Antoine whenever you crave the comfort of a firm bed and a soft pillow. For the second half of your reward, I offer you another path to fame and fortune, guild leaves. Guild leaves are records of various requests we receive from the citizenry. They outline all manner of tasks which ambitious young adventurers like you can elect to undertake. Gontran is our guild leave official, or leave meet, here at the Carline Canopy. I have spoken with him regarding your knack for solving challenging problems, and he is eager to make your acquaintance. By the way, have you perchance heard of the coming festival? It is truly a splendid occasion, looked forward to by young and old alike, and one I heartily recommend you take time to enjoy. Don't be too disappointed if the recent troubles cast a shadow over proceedings, however. I fear nothing short of the mysterious interloper's apprehension can prevent that. But we were talking about you, Faroth. You have made Mother proud. I expect great things of you, young man. How's my favorite fresh-faced adventurer? Oh, do not scowl, soul. I speak out of habit. You've come a long way since you walked through my door, and I'll not deny it. As a matter of fact, I think it's about time you made yourself useful at Bent Branch Meadows in Central Shroud. Unlike the recruits you see at the Bonarch, the men and women out at the Bent Branch are fully occupied with their own work. As such, I imagine there are more than a few who would welcome the ascents of a rapidly maturing adventurer like yourself. Bent Branch is also home to a very usefully situated aetheryte. It is, in other words, the perfect place for you to begin the next stage of your journey as an adventurer. And what better time than the present? Leave the city via the Blue Badger Gate and continue to the southwest until you come to a bridge. Cross it, and when you spy an aetheryte in the distance, you may congratulate yourself on having successfully found Bent Branch Meadows. If you so fancy, you may also make use of the Chocobo Porter service, doubtless the safest way to get to your destination. Chocobo Keep Singer should not hesitate to lend his birds to a capable adventurer like you. Oh, and be sure to introduce yourself to Keitha, the head Chocobo Wrangler, when you arrive. And we shall tomorrow. So for a quick look in here, so the summoning bell later would be where you get your retainers. You summon them for storing items or selling items. You can also assign them a job, equip them in gear, level them up, and basically send them out on missions. Some missions are basically going to be really long, like 16 hours. They'll bring back a random item. Quick ventures take 1 hour or a little under an hour, and they'll bring back random items. Or you can send them on specific things, like if they're if I made one a lancer, then I could send them out to basically gather anything that mobs would drop, so leather or animal skins, things like that. If you train them for a gathering class, you can send them out for specific gathering items and stuff like that. The crystal bell later on would be when you unlock it, you can summon them to change your hairstyle. Orchestrion, as you collect Orchestrion rolls, you can change the music in the inn room. Glamour Dresser is for later for basically that's transmog. Armoire will let you store some items, like if it's an item that you get from a holiday event, they can almost always be stored in here. Your first set of class gear can be stored in there. Toy chests are for mini games, and then the Unending Journey will let you go back and watch past cutscenes from the main story quest or side quests, job quests, things like that. So I'm going to end it there for today, and plan on doing some more streaming to continue the journey tomorrow night. That's quite a pose for going to sleep.